Good morning. This morning I'm going to be reading 2 John 1 to 5. The elder to the elect lady and her children, whom I love in truth, and not only I, but also all who know the truth, because of the truth that abides in us and will be with us forever. Grace, mercy, and peace be with us from God the Father and from Jesus Christ, the Father, Son, in truth and love. I rejoiced greatly to find some of your children walking in the truth, just as we were commanded by the Father. And now I ask you, dear lady, not as though I were writing you a new commandment, but the one we have had from the beginning, that we love one another. Okay. Now an elder is, if you look it up, it says a mature man having seasoned judgment or experience, but is also someone who has met the spiritual qualifications of overseer or elder, that listed for us in the church. And so this has to be a very godly man, somebody who's really walking in fellowship with the Lord, who's obeying the Lord, who's walking in righteousness and holiness, who's living a life that is above reproach. So this is not just like in a lot of institutional churches today. They elect elders. A lot of times they're just old men, or older men in the church. A lot of them can be elected by the people because they just like them. They're popular. Could be sometimes because they're very smart, like one of those we went to years ago. Pretty much all the elders had doctorate degrees in something or other. It could be they're just very popular, very well liked people, and not necessarily are they all chosen by the people in their congregations because of the spiritual qualifications. So not everyone who calls himself an elder today, or who is selected as an elder, is a biblical elder. Okay, So an elder should meet those spiritual qualifications, by what the scriptures teach. And I don't have those scriptures at the top of my head. Sorry. And then it says, for the elder to the elect lady. Now, elect means chosen out by God for the rendering of special service to Him. Those of us who have been truly born again of the Spirit of God, who are walking in righteousness and holiness and not in sin, we are God's elect, But God chooses us for special service to Him too. Like, I know that God called me to this ministry, which started off as a writing ministry and still is, but then He added on these video talks within the last couple of years, mostly since last year, through this year so far. So I know this is my calling from God, and that this is the service that God has chosen for me specifically. Some people think that the lady was like a sister church, which could have been, and then her children would then be her spiritual children. So it could be that it's not speaking about a female, a lady, but it could be. And I don't think that really matters. It could be either one, or we could look at it both ways, that it's either a lady who has been chosen by God for a specific service, like He has with me, and many other women. Or it could be a sister church who are the chosen of God, called to God from God for a specific area of service, for Him. And whether it's physical birth children, or whether it's children spiritually, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that there's a godly man, who is writing to a godly woman or to a godly congregation, and to her children, her either physical offspring or spiritual offspring, and this elder, which I guess would be John, who was an apostle of God, loves this lady and her children in a very spiritual way. That no matter what, if it's an actual lady or a sister church, but he's not the only one who loves her. She's loved by others who know the truth and who follow the truth and who abide in that truth. Now, the truth that Jesus taught and the apostles taught is not the same as what is very popular today in institutional churches here in America. Jesus taught if anyone's going to come after him, he must deny himself, take up his cross daily, die daily to sin and to self, and follow him in obedience. For in essence, what he said is if we hold on to our old lives of living in sin and for self, we're going to lose them for eternity. But if for his sake we die with him to sin and live to him and to his righteousness, then we have life in him. That's the essence of the gospel message. Jesus died that we might die with him to sin and live to him and to his righteousness. That we might obey him and his commands, and those commands are under the new covenant. This is not old covenant. So they're mainly God's moral laws. They're not the liturgical and ceremonial laws of the old covenant. And Jesus himself summarized all the commandments and the prophets and everything into 2 commands: to love God with all our heart, mind, soul, strength, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. Which brings me into this word love, because he said that he loved this lady, and he's asking her or this church that she would love other Christians, or that they would love other Christians, that they would love one another. And this love, it means to prefer, or for the believer, preferring to live through Christ, embracing God's will, choosing his choices and obeying them through his power. It means preeminently refers to what God prefers, as he is love. What he prefers is obedience to him and righteousness and holy and godly living, honesty, moral purity, faithfulness, uprightness, integrity, etc. Okay? So if he is saying to her or to this church, that he was basically says it's not a new commandment, but the one we've had from the beginning. He's saying, now I ask you, dear lady, not as though I'm writing you a new commandment, but the one we have had from the beginning, that we love one another, which kind of gives the impression that he's speaking to more than just one person. And of course it does say to the chosen lady and her children, so it could be that that's who he's talking about. But for us, for us to apply this to our lives, the encouragement here is that we are those who know the truth and who are walking in the truth, who are abiding in the truth that Jesus taught and that his apostles taught, the New Testament apostles, and that we are walking in the truth. And I'm going to tell you where he says, I rejoice greatly to find some of your children walk in the truth. As a mother, 4 children and the grandmother of 14 grandchildren, there is no greater joy than to know that my children and my grandchildren if they are walking in the truth, that they are walking in the truth, to learn that there is no greater joy than that, that a Christian mother and grandmother, that would be what she wants for her children and her grandchildren, is that they are walking in the truth of God's word, that they are following Jesus in obedience, they are obeying his commands under the new covenant, that they are living holy and godly lives, that they are serving the Lord with their lives, that their lives are about Jesus Christ and being his chosen ones, and not about just living for the flesh and for the world, that there's just nothing better than that, to know that you have offspring, whether physical or spiritual offspring, who are literally loving one another with this kind of love, this love that prefers what is holy and godly, and it prefers God over everything else. There's just nothing like that, and there's nothing that grieves, I think, a Christian godly woman, mother, more than when her family is not walking in the truth and is not walking in righteousness and is not obeying the Lord, So anyway, I think the encouragement here is that for all of us to make sure that we're walking in the truth that Jesus and his apostles taught in the New Testament, and that we are loving each other with this kind of love. Okay.